Hey there, welcome to the UkeStuff channel and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of this instrument. This is the Martin OX Tenor Ukulele. Now, I purchased this a few weeks ago when on Musician's Friend, these were being sold and shipped. I got mine for $264 with taxes. This is normally a $450 instrument. And I couldn't pass it up, but I was sort of thinking, I'll buy it, review it, and sell it. But in reality, I've kind of fallen in love with it. And I did sell another Martin earlier this year. My Martin S1 Soprano I sold because I do have a Martin OXK. I'm actually going to do a comparison between the OXK and the Martin OX Tenor Concert, OXK Concert, and the OX Tenor. And I also have a Martin Model 2 concert ukulele that I purchased, and I didn't need both the soprano, solid mahogany, and the Model 2. So I was down to Martin, decided to add a Martin, had the intentions of selling it, but I don't think I'm going to be. In this review, what I'm going to do is I will talk about subjective categories that I do with all instruments, then I'll go over the specifications of the instrument, and then I'll summarize the instrument and give it a UkeGuide rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. If you want to support the work on this channel, there are 3 things you can do. First of all, you can like this video. Second, you can subscribe to both of my YouTube channels, the UkeStuff channel, which is where this video is, and the Uke Playlongs channel. And third, you can always buy me a cup of coffee to say thank you for making this content at www.buymeacoffee.com/UkeStuff. All right, let's begin with the subjective categories of the Martin OX Tenor. First of all, cost. It is $449 at Martin dealers. It's just the going price. So yes, to see it at Musician's Friend for $264 shipped was pretty amazing. It was quite a good deal. And I looked later to see how long it would be on sale. It obviously, the deal of the day, stupid deal of the day is what Musician's Friend does, was over quickly. But they did have the black version for some time. Same instrument OX, instead of with a whiskey sunset, it's the full black one. They had that one for $299 for some time. A friend of mine actually bought one later than when I bought this one for that price, but that price has also now gone up on Musician's Friend and the other Guitar Center family of stores in the US. So it's back to $449 everywhere. The value at $449, hate to say this, but the price exceeds the value on the instrument. You're getting an HPL ukulele, which is really rugged. So that is worth something. And you now get perhaps the best gig bag in the industry now. That was my argument with the Martin OXK. Great ukulele, but it's coming with a subpar bag, and I'll actually show that. Now, I don't know if Martin has updated the bag on the OXK. So this is Martin's new bag. Check it out. It has a big pocket in the front. It's stitched. Okay, that's all good. I mean, it's a pocket in the front, no big deal, right? But the inside, look at this inside. Holy cow, it's gorgeous. Sort of, a smooth lining. It's got a neck block. It has this protective area so your tuners don't rip up the bag. This is gorgeous. Thick, thick padding. It's got to be close to 20 millimeters of padding. The handle is amazing. You could carry this all day long and not complain. Padded straps, hanging tab on the back, and bumpers on the bottom. It's sort of like Martin was hearing my complaints of like, come on, how do you sell such premium ukuleles and then sell them with such low quality cases? Well, there you go in the ukulele world. I think Martin now holds the record for the best standard gig bag that they include with their instruments. So that's definitely worth something. And I'm actually trying to purchase those for my other Martins, for my OXK and for my Model 2. So I'm working on that to see if I can get them. And I do have a catalog number to buy them from Martin, but I've got to find a dealer that will order those for me. So far I've been reaching out to like Sweetwater and other companies, and they're not responding. So hopefully I can get those, but I do think that Martin, for the first time in the industry, is ahead of everybody else with the gig bag. Now, could you make a case that Kala has some of those transport bags that are better? Yes, you could, but they don't include those with their standard instruments. So there you go. Good job, Martin. Still, I don't think it's worth $449. It's too much for a Mexican-made HPL ukulele that says Martin comes with a good gig bag. It's still too much. Now, in terms of build quality, overall, it's a clean build, and it should be because you're dealing with countertop material, basically. Thin sheets of paper that are laminated together to make this super thin top, super resonant, HPL back and sides that I believe are mahogany in description. That's not their koa print. You have the birch laminated neck, which is super attractive. And then I really do like this whiskey sunset or this sunburst look. I really do like this. Some people won't, but this does appeal to me, which is part of the reason why I'm keeping it. So the build quality is really good overall. The edges of the HPL have been angled sanded so they're not sharp and they don't hurt you when you touch them. That's really good. It's cleanly built. The issues I have is that there are some fret ends that are starting to pop out. That's quickly dealt with a sanding sponge. Again, would I do that with a much more expensive ukulele? No. You're right on the edge of a $449 ukulele where I wouldn't recommend it. But it doesn't take much. You can tape it. You can actually tape and sand right through if you want to. But if you have some sharp fret ends, you can do that really quickly. And if you're careful, but otherwise if you don't want to risk it, you can tape everything off. But now those fret ends are gone. But nonetheless, there are some sharp fret ends building out. And then the other concern that I have is brought to me by my friend Steve, who bought a black one of these and then sent it back because he found out that the nut here is 33.9 millimeters, which is true. And the string spacing, if you can see, puts the first string and fourth string, got to look at the angle of that, first string and fourth string, right near the edge of the instrument, which could be problematic. If, I actually, in my demo today, there was one chord that I pulled off of the fretboard because it's so close to the edge. So that's a potential build quality concern, is that the neck is too narrow for a tenor, too narrow for a concert or soprano potentially as well. So I could see that argument. I will say, however, that even if that's the case, I normally play concerts. So for those of you that watch this channel, I usually review concerts because that's what I'll play. And just in the event that I buy an instrument that I want to keep myself, it's going to be a concert because that's the scale that I like the most. This setup feels more like a concert then to me than it does a tenor, even though the body is significantly bigger. So as a result, for some reason, this doesn't bother me so much. Neither does the spacing on the edge, but it really did bother my friend Steve, and he returned his. And it might be a concern for you too. All right, since we're talking about build quality, let's take a look at the inside of the instrument. I call it the internal Uke Cam, but it's just really an endoscope. You can see it has a little sticker that says 35 years of manufacturing excellence in Mexico. That's pretty cool. So let's look at the back. You can see the laminate that is used there, the HPL. It's kind of neat how it sort of has a wood texture on the inside. It's not just black like a lot of HPL. So they actually had special HPL design that looked wood. You've got bracing on the back, which HPL probably doesn't even need. And if I can straighten this out here, take a look, very cleanly built. They're doing great work at that shop in Mexico, the Martin shop in Mexico. So you've got a tail block, super clean build on the inside. And you can actually see the whole top here has like an added support there. I think that's the bridge plate down there. But look at the extra piece that's been added on the soundboard. It's very resonant, yet they've added another piece there. Not sure why, but it's kind of cool to see on the inside. All right, let's take a look at the upper bout. Now here in the upper bout, not a whole lot to see. You have that laminate that again has sort of a wood texture instead of black. That's pretty cool. You've got the notch kerfing on the side, very standard build, and the neck block. All right, and that's our quick look at the Martin OX Tenor Uke, of course made in Mexico, but controlled by CF Martin in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. All right, now we've talked about build quality. Let's move to appearance. I like it. It is pretty plain, but that whiskey sunburst is special. And I also like the black headstock. That works really well for me. The rosewood fretboard and bridge also seem to work well with this combination. Maybe it's because of the mahogany and the mahogany colored neck up here. In terms of availability, if you want one of these, you can order them from Martin dealers right now at $449. Now, on the used market, do keep in mind that these were selling for $264, at least where I live, shipped with taxes. So you will probably want to consider that in any pricing. I would not pay upwards of $400 for a used one, not knowing what the person actually bought it new for. Now, in terms of playability, this is where I've got to address my friend Steve's concern, which are that the nut is only 33.9 millimeters, less than 34 millimeters, and the strings are really close to the edge. I think that's the biggest concern here, and I could see that causing some people that didn't like smaller necks to really not like this instrument. I love the neck profiles of Martins. I really do. I love that thin neck, and with the laminated birch neck, that's even, really not going to be a concern about warping or anything. So I do love the style of Martin X to start with. That nut width may be a concern, and the string spacing may be a concern for you. Action, however, is excellent right out of the box, and my friend Steve also said that his was set up incredibly well. And that's coming from a box store that is not setting them up before they ship them to you. I guarantee you that no one at Musician's Friend went in and checked the action on the instrument before they sent it to me. So Martin's doing a really good job with setup in Mexico as well. The concern again is going to be nut width and string spacing. Now, in terms of sound quality, I find it hard to describe HPL, but I did a playing test of all my entry-level ukuleles last year, and I had my son hand them to me, and I think it was like 30 concert ukuleles that I had at the house at the time of different entry-level laminate ukuleles, and that included my Martin OX concert. And in the long run, the instrument that I chose over all the others, blindfolded, was my Martin OX for both its sound and its feel in playing because of that Martin neck. So, that said, HPL has its own sound. It's not laminate, it's not wood, it's right in between. HPL is different than standard laminate. Laminate is thin strips of wood glued together. It could be the actual wood, like a koa laminate could be all little thin strips of koa, or an outside layer of koa, and then inside layers of koa sawdust, basically, and then an outside layer of koa. HPL is sheets of paper, and they can do whatever they want with the prints, which is where that appearance thing changes. Barry Maz at Got It Ukulele has talked about how he wishes that a lot of companies like Martin would do different things with their HPL, since they can. It's just a layered print. Well, they have with the tenors here, the OX tenors, and some other models as well. It doesn't always have to look like wood. So with that said, this instrument has sort of a caught warmth to it. I'll play a C chord. So there's a warmth, and caught may not be the fully right word for it, but there's this boxy nature to the sound. But at the same time, there are trebles, there are overtones, and really pretty decent sustain. I like it. I like it. I would like it for performing with. I'd like it with singing with. I'd like it with, making demonstration videos. That tone really works for me. It seems to be really well-rounded. We'll check that in just a second. It's not super loud. It's certainly not quiet. And while I would say the overall tone is warmer, there's definitely high sustain and overtones as well. So let's do it. Let's play this instrument into Tonal Energy Tuner to let you see what's happening with the sound. Now, to be fair, Tonal Energy Tuner is picking up all the low end, which is where I say sort of it has that sort of caught sound. but there are definitely overtones and higher frequency twos that are continuing to run, and that sustain of like 6 seconds is pretty long for tonal energy tuner as well. So yeah, this thing does have some good sustain as well. So I guess the thing I can say to you is it's its own thing. It's not laminate, it's not wood, it's somewhere in between, it's not plastic, and it's good. It's a good sound. Is it the best? I don't know if I'd go that far, but I could definitely play this all time and not be disappointed in it. All right, now that we've gone over the subjective categories, let's get into the specifications of the instrument. It is a tenor ukulele with a scale length of nut to saddle of 17 inches. It has 20 frets, so you have to really want to focus on playing those high notes way, way up there. It's 20 frets with 14 to the body. It does have side position markers like you would expect from Martin, and it's your traditional double-bout ukulele. The soundboard is laminate HPL with, interestingly, another piece of HPL bracing it underneath. So maybe the point is, and it's really thin HPL on the side. Don't know if you can see that. It is super thin. Maybe they felt to keep it from dishing, they had to put that extra piece in there. And the back and sides are also laminate HPL, but in a mahogany print. The fretboard and bridge are labeled as select hardwood. It sure looks like rosewood to me. I wouldn't have had a problem if it would have been a techwood of some sort. Black might have been cool too. Now I should also mention that the bridge is a tie bar sort of traditional bridge. Kind of surprised that Martin hasn't tried like a pull-through bridge. That would make a lot of sense to me. The fretboard is not a radius fretboard, and the nut and saddle are made out of tusk. It is a compensated saddle, like many Martin ukuleles. It's that flat satin finish there. The overall length is 26.126 inches from the top to the bottom, and that's without any strap-ons added. And the weight is 1 pound, 9.1 ounces, and it's a little body heavy. Is that a bad thing? No, you can deal with it, but I would definitely consider putting in a strap button here, especially if you're going to be playing a lot for a strap. That's what I would do. You don't have to use a strap. That's what I would do. So 1 pound, 9.1 ounces is pretty heavy. It has Grover branded geared tuners, which is really nice. And the action at the first fret is 0.47 millimeters, really low, no buzzing whatsoever. And the action at the 12th fret is 2.43 millimeters, also very low. So it's very easy to play. The negative comes in the nut width at only 33.9 millimeters. And the space between strings, this is where Martin sort of tried to negate, I think, the impact of that small nut, is by making the string spacing as wide as possible between the strings. They're up to 9.0 millimeters, which is 29.4 G to A, but you end up with so little space on the end of the first and fourth string that occasionally, if you're playing notes there, especially on the first string, you might find yourself accidentally pulling the string off of the fret completely, just as a warning. Now, the depth of the neck at the third fret, this shows you how thin Martin necks are. Remember, this is a tenor that would typically be more chunky on many other brands. From the top of the strings at the third fret to the bottom of the neck, it's 19.7 millimeters. That's really thin with the low action included. Bravo, Martin, for that. Sort of a boo for the size of the nut, and a big hooray for the gig bag that comes with it. All right, now that we've talked about subjective categories and the specifications, let's summarize the instrument and give it a UkeGuide rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. This again is the Martin OX Tenor. It's made out of laminate HPL, which is really impervious. It's sort of like countertop material at your home if you don't have granite countertops. So standard HPL, high pressure laminate, are thin pieces of paper that are treated and bound together, and it makes for a real interesting tone wood for ukuleles and a very durable tone wood for ukuleles. You don't have to worry about this one splitting, for example. So with that, musician friend had a sale on these where they were offering them for $200, like $245, and by the time you add the taxes and everything, it was $264 shipped to my home. I had no intention of buying a tenor. I play concerts most of the time. I also, when I bought this, thought, I'll sell it after I'm done reviewing it because that's a good deal and I'll be able to actually break even. Nope. I ended up falling in love with this instrument and I'm going to keep it, which is okay. It was a good deal. Now, there are some issues with it. It had some sharp fret ends. I dealt with them just in the video. It takes a couple seconds, couple passes with a sanding block, and suddenly, before you know it, any sharp fret ends you have are gone. Would not do that with a more expensive ukulele. And some people for like a $449 ukulele would be like, wait, don't do that, tape it up. I'm with you, I agree with you, but I'm not too worried about it. It's gonna work just fine, and there are no longer any sharp fret ends. But the big issue comes with the nut. It's only 33.9 millimeters thick, which is really thin, and the string spacing has been maximized, which puts the first and fourth strings right at the edge of the fretboard, so that sometimes when you play chords, you actually can pull the string off of the fretboard. That's not great either. So you've got to learn how to press right down without pulling down. So if you've had that bad tendency build up in your life. So I have a friend that bought the black version of this and really pointed out to me I wasn't even paying attention because I was enjoying the instrument. As a person that generally plays concerts, this tenor feels smaller to me. Probably the nut width up there. And maybe Martin was operating under that mindset of let's make the tenor more playable for someone that typically plays our smaller instruments. That works. It's working for me. However, again, like I said, I too sometimes will play that instrument wrong. So my friend Steve that bought one of these sent it back, and nonetheless, I'm not sending mine back. You can't make that nut width any wider. That is to the edge of the neck, but it's that beautiful thin Martin neck. You've got that lovely laminated birch neck and HPL. It's impervious. It's great for when I'm teaching at school, and I also have my other Martin as well. I am going to do a comparison between this and my OXK concert as well. You can look for that. The other thing I want to add is that it comes with an amazing gig bag now. So Martin did not used to include a really great gig bag. It was a passable gig bag. Now, even for a HPL instrument, comes with what I think is currently the best gig bag I've seen on the market, and there are some great ones out there. So what do I think about the instrument? I think it's a brilliant instrument that could be modified with a slightly wider neck. I think it's also overpriced at $449. So I'm going to give this instrument a 4 out of 5. The knock really comes in two areas. It's the neck width and the price. If you're a person that doesn't like playing really thin nut ukuleles, you might even want to give it a lower score than that, which may explain why it was being sold on a clearance on Musician's Friend, because people may not like the thin nut. That's possible. So maybe Martin will rethink it. I'm glad they made this model, and I'm going to keep mine, but I can see why somebody would not be interested just on that alone. All right, thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.